Monteverdi's The Coronation of Poppea, l'Incoronazione di Poppea, an amazing last opera of Monteverdi's career, which was first performed in Venice in 1643 when Monteverdi was in his 70s, and it was first performed in the Carnival season of that year. There's a lot of debate about how much the opera is actually by Monteverdi. It used to be thought to be Monteverdi, pure genius working for a single human being. We now have a different view of Renaissance artistry, and in music it's not dissimilar to the kind of thing that happened in fine art, which is to say that the artist would normally work in a kind of studio system with other artists. We know that Rubens did this and Titian, and we know that Michelangelo did this. And it seems as if Monteverdi may well have done something similar. He was 70 years old, and he too probably employed assistants to help him write sections of the opera. So it challenges the kind of modernist idea of the great artist in a way, but I don't think it really matters. Human creativity is about expertise, manifesting itself through the craftsmanship that comes through years of experience, and this is certainly a masterpiece that's born of years of experience. There are two scores of The Coronation of Poppea. One comes from the original performance in Venice, and a later one from a few years after that in Naples was revived for another performance. And neither of them are very specific about instrumentation. In fact, they don't say what the instruments are. It's very interesting, this, because it looks as if pieces during that period, dramatic pieces like this, had a kind of do-it-yourself quality. You put together an orchestra out of whoever was available, and you cut numbers or you added numbers according to taste or whoever was available to sing. So there's a much more open-ended quality to the score than there would have been in later centuries. In some ways that's almost a more modern approach, almost like an open score. And the story that the opera sets is a fantastically modern one, really. It's about the Emperor Nero, who of course is a famous villain of history, and it plots the appalling story of how he got rid of people who were near to him, including the Empress Ottavia, who is exiled in the opera. And he makes his teacher, his mentor, the philosopher Seneca, he has to drink poison because he advises Nero in a way that Nero disapproves of. So the opera's full of these terrible things where decent people perish or are sent away. And then the opera ends with this sort of horrific celebration of lust and power, with Nero and his mistress Poppea, who is crowned at the end, so there's a coronation, and then they sing this rapturous love duet. And what's extraordinary is that it's not a duet that seems villainous in any way. It's not written with a kind of ghastly, dark, tinged quality. It's actually absolutely beautiful, ravishingly beautiful. And that is a wonderful way of enhancing the ironic moment at the end of the opera. We're all feeling very uncomfortable about what's happening, and yet Monteverdi is real enough and dramatically authentic enough to set it in this rapturous way so that we're simultaneously loving it, enjoying it, and also feeling very uncomfortable about what's happening. So the music for the final duet is written just in 3 parts. Most of the opera is just written in terms of vocal parts with what's called basso continuo, just a bass line with figured bass. In other words, numbers written for the continuo players to realise, to extemporize over the bass line according to the numbers which tell them what the vertical harmony is on top of the written bass note. For example, at the beginning you can see that there's just this bass line. I'm playing in G flat because that's closer to the likely pitch of Monteverdi's time, and it also fits with recorded bits that we're going to play later. So we see this descending tetrachord, just a 4-note repeating bass line, ground bass, and it's the simplest thing. It's just dropping from G down to D. And then the figures, so this second chord is figured 6, so that gives us D major first inversion. And the next one is E in the bass, so that's C major first inversion. and then the D has a suspension which resolves to D root position, and then back round we go. So that bass continues in that way, turning round and round. And then over the top we have the two voices, and they're singing these beautiful back and forth phrases. I adore you, I adore you, I desire you, I embrace you, I enchain you. There's a slightly sinister, and you can hear the sort of enchaining of the dissonant notes crossing over each other. I embrace you, I enchain you, with these long chains of, it's a really fantastic word painting. The next bit, no more grief. The harmony becomes more dissonant, no more grief. And then again, no more grief, no more grief. Monteverdi loves these dissonant minor seconds which then resolve away from those collisions. Oh my life, oh my life. And then it turns towards the dominant. We break away for a moment from the ground bass to the dominant, and then oh my life, round the circle of fifths to the subdominant C, and the final cadence. And then immediately after that we go into a more breathless middle section where the whole tempo, everything becomes more ardent, there's a yearning quality, and then the music comes around again to a recap of this extraordinary opening with the ground bass, and everything slows down into this magnificent conclusion. We're going to hear a couple of real singers performing this with William Christie and his group. You can see a theorbo player and various other beautiful Renaissance instruments, and we'll just hear the end of the duet performed by these musicians. Unfortunately, due to a copyright claim, we are unable to show this recording on our channel. The full performance is linked in the video description below. Thanks for watching.